doesn't have anything. Please.
Oh my God.
I said drop it. Hands where I can see him.
Somebody call an ambulance.
She's bleeding. Please. Stay back. No one move.
Say goodbye. That's all she heard before her face was slammed against the hood of her own car. No explanation. No warning. Just the cold certainty that she was being targeted. Neighbors watched from behind curtains. A badge glinted under the sun. And through the ringing in her ears, Aaliyah wondered why today? But this wasn't the moment she broke. It was the moment when everything she never knew about her daughter would come to light. This is the story of a woman targeted. And the CIA agent who answered, "Welcome, story lovers." From where are you watching? Hit the like button and drop your city name in the comments so we can see how far our story travels. Aaliyah Marston had always lived her life quietly, intentionally choosing peace over attention. At 46, she was a respected crisis management consultant, known for her calm voice and steady mind. She lived in a small but beautiful neighborhood on the outskirts of Richmond, where the trees framed the roads like soft curtains. Her days began the same way: a warm cup of tea, a glance at her garden, and a quick call from her daughter Zara, who worked in what Aaliyah believed was international security. In truth, Zara worked for the CIA, but Aaliyah had no idea. The young woman's trips, the vague explanations, the long nights, all of it passed as typical government work. Aaliyah never asked too many questions. She trusted her daughter, and trust was enough. For years, life moved steadily. Aaliyah's neighbors loved her, especially because she always offered help without expecting anything in return. She volunteered at community centers, mentored young Black women, and spent weekends visiting her aging mother. Nothing about her life seemed controversial or dangerous. If anything, she was the kind of person who blended into the background until someone chose to notice her for the wrong reason. On a warm Thursday afternoon, she drove home from the grocery store, humming softly to a jazz playlist. She didn't realize a patrol car had been behind her for the last 5 blocks. She didn't see the way the officer inside glared at her through the windshield, studying her license plate like it didn't belong. She had no idea that this woman, Officer Marlene Briggs, was already forming her own story about who Aaliyah was. Aaliyah pulled into her driveway, unaware of the storm creeping closer. The air felt normal, the sky peaceful, the world stable. But sometimes danger doesn't announce itself with thunder. Sometimes it approaches quietly, hidden inside the mind of someone who believes they have power over you. And as Aaliyah stepped out of her car, she felt for the first time in years a strange tightening in her stomach, a subtle whisper of coming trouble. She brushed it off, but she shouldn't have, because her life was about to tilt into the kind of darkness she had only ever heard about on the news. The moment Aaliyah lifted the grocery bag from the back seat, she heard the quick slam of a car door. Heavy footsteps followed, purposeful, sharp, and far too close. She turned to see Officer Marlene Briggs approaching, hand resting near her holster, eyes narrowed in suspicion. Aaliyah didn't understand. She hadn't broken any laws. She hadn't even spoken to anyone that day. Yet the officer's expression held something more than cautions, something bitter, something rooted deeper than a routine stop. Marlene demanded her ID. Claiming she matched a description, Aaliyah felt the familiar sting in her chest. The old ache of being singled out simply for existing in the wrong place at the wrong time. She tried to remain calm, but the officer's voice grew sharper, her tone more aggressive, dripping with assumptions Aaliyah had heard her whole life but learned to ignore. But this was different. This wasn't a passing comment, a rude encounter, or a casual insult. This was a uniformed officer using authority like a weapon. The neighbors peeked from windows but stayed silent. Fear froze them. No one wanted to get involved. Marlena escalated, quickly claiming Aaliyah's car looked suspicious, then insisting she step away from her own home. The officer threatened to search her vehicle without cause, pushing closer, her voice charged with hostility. Aaliyah tried to explain, tried to keep her voice steady, but the officer interrupted every word. Something inside Aaliyah trembled. Not fear, frustration, Exhaustion, the tiredness of someone who had spent decades navigating a world that could turn on her at any moment. The confrontation grew louder. The officer accused her of resisting, of acting nervous, of hiding something. She called for backup. Aaliyah's heart pounded not because she was guilty, but because she knew how stories like this could end across the city. Zara, fresh out of a classified assignment, checked her phone during a short lunch break. She expected a message from her mother, maybe a picture of the garden or a reminder to rest. Instead, she saw a shaky video circulating on a local community page. Her mother, cornered by an officer, hands shaking, voice trembling. Wrongly targeted, Zara's world froze. A cold rush shot through her chest as she replayed the clip over and over, analyzing every detail with the instincts of someone trained to respond to danger. She knew two things instantly. One, Officer Briggs was escalating intentionally. Two, her mother was in immediate danger. Zara didn't hesitate. She dropped her tray, grabbed her keys, and raced out of the building. And while she didn't flash her CIA credentials often, this time she didn't care who questioned her. Back at the house, the situation worsened. Marlene pushed Aaliyah against the car, claiming she was acting suspicious. Aaliyah pleaded for space, for a moment to breathe, but the officer's determination grew fiercer. Almost fueled by the attention from the few neighbors recording Aaliyah's world, narrowed into a tunnel of panic. Just as the officer reached for her cuffs, tires screeched down the street. Zara's car? She stepped out with a fire in her eyes that Aaliyah had never seen before, and everything began to unravel. Zara sprinted toward her mother, her voice sharp, commanding, slicing through the chaos like a blade. The officer barely turned before Zara stepped between them, blocking the cuffs from closing around Aaliyah's wrists. The tension crackled in the air, so thick it felt suffocating. Officer Briggs barked at her to move aside, but Zara didn't flinch. Instead, she reached into her jacket and pulled out her federal identification, flipping it open with practiced precision. The officer's face went pale as she realized who she was dealing with. But Zara wasn't finished. Her voice dropped into a tone she only used during high-risk operations, controlled, icy, deadly calm. She explained every violation committed in the last 10 minutes. Unlawful detainment, harassment, fabricated suspicion, and excessive force. Each word struck like a blow. A small crowd had gathered, phones out, recording every second. Marlene stuttered, tried to recover, but Zara pressed forward, exposing every flaw in her conduct. Aaliyah, still shaking, watched her daughter transform into someone powerful. Unshakable, someone she barely recognized. Then came the final twist. Zara informed the officer that her actions had triggered an automatic federal investigation. Not by coincidence, but because Zara herself would be filing the complaint using her authority, her connections, and her access to ensure accountability. Marlene's confidence crumbled. Her voice broke. Her posture collapsed. For the first time, she realized she had picked the wrong woman to target, and as Zara held her mother close, she whispered one chilling line that silenced the entire crowd. "You told her to say goodbye. Now it's your turn. Dear audience, where are you watching from? Drop your city name in the comments." The investigation that followed moved faster than anyone expected. Videos circulated online, sparking outrage across the community. Media outlets picked up the story within hours. Officer Briggs was suspended immediately, pending a full inquiry. And for once, the system didn't try to bury the truth because too many eyes were watching. Aaliyah struggled to process everything. The humiliation, the fear, the sudden escalation, all of it pressed heavily on her chest. But knowing her daughter had protected her, stood up for her, and used her own strength to fight injustice brought a different kind of emotion. Zara visited every day, ensuring her mother felt safe. For the first time, she explained her real job, not every detail, but enough for Aaliyah to understand the weight her daughter carried. And Aaliyah realized something important. Zara wasn't just skilled or brave. She was committed to justice in all its forms. The community rallied around them, sharing stories, offering support, and demanding reforms. Aliyah, who had once tried to live quietly, found her voice again. She spoke at meetings, sharing her experience not out of anger, but out of a desire for change. Her story became part of a larger conversation, a conversation about profiling, abuse of power, and the reality many Black Americans endure daily. And the question echoed far beyond her. Neighborhood, how many more voices like Aliyah's must rise before the world truly listens? Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more powerful stories and new videos every week.